Hello guys, welcome back to TFD. It's the league's biggest moment, stressing the need for player fight for deserved benefits, while also requiring compromise to ensure the 2026 season happens and fans get their product on the floor. A year ago, when Angel Reese went public and said, "Yeah, the CBA is coming up and we deserve more," a lot of people thought she was out of her mind. What Caitlin Clark does is calculated. She stays quiet, watches everything, and waits for the exact right moment to speak. And when that moment came, she didn't hesitate. Even while injured and unable to play, Caitlin stood with every WNBA player at the All-Star game, taking a public stand for better pay. That wasn't accidental. That was leadership.
Where does your W salary stack up against your deals with State Farm, Gatorade, Nike?
That's a good question. Honestly, I feel like that's where we're really fortunate is that we have those other deals. And I think that's one of the things that we're in the room fighting for, like Fee said, is, we should be paid more. And hopefully that's the case moving forward as the league continues to grow. I think that's something that's probably the most important thing that we're in the room advocating about.
Because behind the scenes, the message was clear. If we don't get what we want, we're willing to sit out. And at the time, that sounded reckless. You're talking about sitting out right when the league finally has real momentum? Momentum driven almost entirely by Caitlin Clark. Fast forward to this week, and here we are. WNBA players just voted yes to authorize a strike. Not officially striking yet, but make no mistake, it's now on the table. And this wasn't close. This was 98% approval. You almost never see that level of unity in any players' union. That tells you how serious this has become. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If a strike actually happens, it could fundamentally alter or even end the WNBA as we know it. Because unlike past labor disputes, there are now real alternatives. Other leagues are popping up and openly saying, if you don't like it there, come play here. We'll pay you more. Unrivaled, Project B, new ventures that have already signed dozens of top WNBA players who are essentially saying, we tried the old system, it didn't work. So, how did the league get here right when things were finally going right? Money. It's always money. Caitlin Clark entered the league and single-handedly changed the economic reality. The average WNBA game without her drew roughly 394,000 viewers. Games with her averaged around 1.4 million. That's over a 200% increase tied to one player. And the impact extended beyond her games. Finals ratings jumped from around 600,000 in prior years to roughly 1.6 million during her rookie season, and she wasn't even in the finals. That surge couldn't have come at a better time. A new media rights deal was negotiated, $2.2 billion starting in 2026, and expansion followed, with 6 new teams, each paying up to $250 million just to get in. Suddenly, there was real money on the table. So the players asked, why aren't we sharing in this? Hence the shirts. Hence the pressure. But the owners fired back with a hard reality. We carried this league at a loss for decades. When the money wasn't there, the players didn't want to share the debt. Now that the money is here, they want to share the profits. And that's the standoff. Two sides staring at the same moment in history, seeing two very different stories. For years, the NBA has effectively kept the WNBA alive, absorbing losses of roughly $10 million per season just to keep the league operating. But here's the part that shocks people. During Caitlin Clark's rookie year, when revenue and visibility were higher than ever, the league reportedly lost around $50 million. So how does that happen? Simple. Expenses exploded. Players pushed for upgrades that are understandable on a human level, but extremely expensive in practice, most notably private air travel. And look, I get it. You cannot have Caitlin Clark, the most recognizable star the league has ever had, flying commercial like the rest of us. That's not realistic. Imagine an NBA superstar sitting on a regular flight while fans ask for selfies, aisle seats, or bathroom breaks. It would be chaos. From a safety and professionalism standpoint, private flights make sense. But they also cost real money. A lot of it. So while the league was making more money than ever, it was also spending more money than ever. And that gap? That's where the losses ballooned. Now, let's talk salaries, because this is where emotions run high. Last season, the WNBA Supermax was about $250,000. The average salary sat around $120,000, and the league minimum was roughly $66,000. Those numbers are low compared to other professional leagues, no argument there. But here's the risk nobody wants to say out loud. If players strike, those numbers don't go up. They go to zero. Negotiations officially began last July. The league sent over a proposal. Details weren't made public, but the reaction told the story. One player described it as a slap in the face. That alone tells you how far apart the two sides were. Then things escalated. MVP runner-up Nafisa Collier publicly dropped a bombshell, claiming the commissioner said something she described as unforgivable. That moment poured gasoline on an already burning negotiation. And from that point on, this stopped being a simple salary dispute. It became a full-blown trust issue, one that now threatens the entire future of the league.
At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Kathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. That's a mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them.
There's a massive difference between negotiating with someone you disagree with and negotiating with someone you genuinely resent. Disagreement can be worked through. Resentment, that's where talks break down. And right now, that's exactly where the WNBA finds itself. At the core of this standoff is one non-negotiable demand from players: revenue sharing, the same model the NBA uses. In the NBA, basketball-related income is split 50-50 between players and owners. When the league grows, the players automatically grow with it. WNBA players see the trajectory of their league, rising ratings, expansion fees, a massive media deal, and they want to ride that wave, not be capped at fixed salaries. But it doesn't stop there. Players are also demanding year-round private flights for every team, league-wide professionalism standards, expanded rosters, and improved benefits. And on the professionalism point, this isn't exaggeration. Remember the Connecticut Sun getting kicked off their own practice court during the playoffs for a 2-year-old's birthday party? That actually happened. Once you see that, it's hard to dismiss the players' frustration. The owners, however, are drawing a hard line. They're willing to raise pay, but not adopt NBA-style revenue sharing. Their reported proposal was significant, increasing the Supermax from $250,000 to roughly $1.3 million, the average salary from $120,000 to about $530,000, and the minimum from $66,000 to around $250,000. On paper, that's a massive leap, but the players rejected it outright. Their response was clear: fixed salaries don't protect them if the league explodes in value. They argue the owners chose to lose money for decades, and that past decision shouldn't limit players now that the league is finally booming. Even Caitlin Clark acknowledged both sides. She called this the biggest moment the WNBA has ever seen, and said players must fight for what they deserve. But she also warned that they still need to play basketball because a strike could destroy everything. History backs that up. In 1994, Major League Baseball was America's top sport. A strike crushed its momentum, and it never fully recovered. If that can happen to MLB, imagine what a prolonged strike could do to the WNBA. We already covered what David Sampson said, and it perfectly lays out what comes next. This is a guy who ran MLB organizations over 20 years. He understands labor negotiations better than almost anyone. When he was asked what happens if players refuse to budge and won't move off their demands, his answer was blunt. At that point,
I just saw The Athletic reported, David, that the WNBA is countering, and they asked for 33% of a revenue split. Now I think it's down to about 30%. I asked Nafisa Collier at this Unrivaled event in the middle of the WNBA All-Star weekend what percentage they wanted, and we now finally found out what that was. It seems like this is getting contentious, but I guess to you, what's the percentage that you think gets this deal done?
Oh, I don't think Adam Silver has any interest in pegging it to a percentage at all. And Adam Silver addressed the media during the League Cup final in Vegas and said that he'll get involved if they want him to. But here's the surprise. He's been involved from the beginning. But what they've done is they've extended the deadline first by 30 days, 40 days. So it's been a total of 70 days, which all you're doing is delaying a work stoppage. You want to get to that work stoppage because that's a legal term of art. You want to get to some sort of lockout or strike so then it can go to the next stage of these negotiations. But the biggest misunderstanding here is that the players in the WNBA want to have a pegged revenue number the way they have it in the NBA. And Adam Silver is saying no because the NBA owners are saying no, because that's not taking into account all of the money that the WNBA owners need to profit and take off the table to pay down debt that has been accruing over the decades of losses.
If the players are not going to move on a revenue split versus derive revenue share off of a fixed number, what is your opinion on what happens?
Maybe the end of the WNBA. The players will move. There's not going to be a fixed number. It doesn't make sense to me for the players to demand that right now.
What did you say on the front end of this?
He said the end of the WNBA.
What are you saying is going to happen if...
let's be clear, Dan. People are not talking about this enough. Obviously, you know John Skipper's involvement in Unrivaled, but you also have talked about what Project B is. You understand there are players who are getting paid multi-millions of dollars to go play in another league in another country. This is the moment. If you had any ability to invest and you wanted to start a league to compete with the WNBA, this is the time. Every player is a free agent. All of them want money and need money. If you have a well-capitalized and well-funded business, the way Project B may be, that could be the end of the WNBA.
And here's the part that should genuinely worry everyone. Multiple women's leagues see exactly where this is headed. A 3-on-3 league called Unrivaled and a full 5-on-5 venture known as Project B have already signed dozens of top WNBA players. These leagues are openly pitching bigger paydays and revenue sharing, knowing full well that uncertainty creates opportunity. On the surface, that sounds empowering. In reality, it would be a major step backward for women's basketball. Those leagues don't have the WNBA's momentum, history, or mainstream visibility. Splitting elite talent across competing leagues would fracture the audience and dilute the product. Think about it this way. If the NBA suddenly collapsed, fans would still follow star players, But if those players were scattered across 2 or 3 separate leagues, the overall experience would suffer. Rivalries disappear, stakes shrink, the league loses its identity. That's why, as unthinkable as it once sounded, a player strike is now a real possibility. And if it happens, the WNBA risks taking a blow so severe that the momentum it's built may never fully return. Tell me what you think. Don't forget like and subscribe.